DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. We are joined now by the Aggies play-by-play radio announcer. Good morning, play-by-play radio announcer.
Announcer who shall remain nameless. Yes. How are you, DJ?
But whose dulcet tones are highly recognizable.
You know, when Craig Smith got hired at Utah, Gordon reached out. He's like, "Hey, do you have any great Craig Smith stories?" I'm like, "Sure." And so I gave him I was on the phone with him for like 30 minutes. And at the end of it, he's like, "Oh, Scott, I appreciate it. This is really helpful. Thank you so much." And so this column comes out that Gordon writes about Craig, and he writes this story. I told him about how we had some technical issues, so Craig and I did his coach's show from like this closet in a restaurant. And he goes, and the announcer told me a story about how, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, Gordon, I've got a name, man. Like, I work with you. Like, you can say Scott Garrard and Craig Smith. And so I'm like, well, that's Gordon. Gordon's just being Gordon. Gordon's too good to, put anybody's name in that's associated with his. But I didn't expect it from DJ. Like, that one surprised me a little bit.
It was me. I posted it, and he just copied and pasted it, and I knew it would get your goat, and I knew you were coming on, and you took the bait. And I feel a little guilty.
So this is like you playing Gordon and essentially losing NBA Finals for the Jazz and getting Jordan all fired up back in '98.
A radio host who worked with Gordon Monson told him that, the team that wins game one wins 85% of the time. And then Gordon went out and wrote a column, and Jordan read it and got mad and came back and won the series, which he might have done anyway without reading a column.
I wrote the incendiary headline.
You wrote the incendiary headline?
Yeah, that's what got Jordan.
Yeah.
Because Jordan wasn't really interested in winning the title until that headline. I mean, please.
I was going to come on here and be like, PK, now that I know what it's like for you over the last 21 years or 22 years to be disrespected. And but yet I didn't know that it was you that started all this.
It was me, yeah. And I did it on purpose because I knew it would get your goat.
And he actually, earlier this morning, you can go back and listen wherever you get your podcast, Scotty.
Scotty listen to our show?
Yeah, I know, that's a good one. I'm just saying he could. I'm not saying he will.
Next you're going to say Lloyd listens.
Oh, no.
Hey, I wanted to book a hockey GM and he ended up on your show. That's all I know.
What is he, Damian Lillard?
Pretty much.
See, the Damian Lillard thing was not our fault, but now
Whatever.
I don't feel bad about it at all.
You ain't winning that battle. I've heard enough of it.
All I know is we had to have on the cross-country coach because that was the deal.
Oh, okay.
It might have been the tennis coach. I can't remember.
Women's
Scotty.
Volleyball.
Yeah, let's get right to the issue. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's
You predict Hillstead will be BYU starter before the 24 season ends. Now, in an era where everybody's starting 2 or 3 quarterbacks, did the Aggies, they played 3 quarterbacks. Did they start 3 last year?
They started 3
They started 3. And the Utes started 3 and the Cougars started 2. So saying Hillstead, is it possible he'll be the starter? Absolutely, right? He could easily be the second or third on the depth chart. Do you think that everybody's healthy? Nobody's eliminating themselves throwing, 6 picks and 15 attempts. But Hillstead he's just the guy most likely to convert first downs on 3rd and 8 and put the ball in the end zone. Is he capable of being that starter, that guy?
Yes. And that's what I meant, too. I'm not saying injuries. I'm saying that he'll be the best quarterback in the room and he'll take over the job. And had he pulled the trigger on this before spring ball, I think he'd be your day one starter at BYU. I don't know if he can catch up enough ground during fall camp to take over the job. I think he's certainly more than capable of doing it. And this is not just a talking great about McCae Hillstead, who I think he's really good, but it's also an indictment of what the quarterback situation down at BYU. And I think a lot of people are tiptoeing around the storyline, but we can just flat out come out and say it that quarterback situation at BYU is not good right now. And McCae Hillstead immediately comes in, and in my humble opinion, I think he's the best quarterback in the room. And frankly, I don't think it's particularly close. Retzlaff has a chance to be okay. We know what Bohannon is, and I don't think it's going to be great. We've talked to enough people, and I know you guys talk to people. I talk to people. Hans talks to enough people to know that there's a level of concern about that quarterback situation in BYU, and McCae Hillstead just improved it greatly. Now, McCae's good, but it's also a sign that the other quarterbacks aren't particularly good down there at BYU.
All right, I can buy all that, but if Hillstead is that good, why is he leaving?
Because he can go to BYU and be a starter in the Big 12 right away.
So that would mean that Utah State a week ago had 3 better quarterbacks than BYU.
No, I don't. No, I'm not saying. I think Petrus is. Cooper Legas is not.
Well, he's gone now.
And I know, that's what I'm saying. And you said a week ago.
Okay, all right, you're right. I forgot about him, but go ahead, yeah.
And Bryson Barnes is not.
So you think Hillstead was second on the depth chart at Utah State and decided, I'm out, I'm going to go to BYU,
senior,
and I'm going to win
leaves?
starting job?
Well, and I also think that there was a conversation with him in regards to, look, we got this kid from Iowa who they really like and they're high on, and probably when you bring in a guy that's a senior transfer from the Big Ten, you're not, you give him assurances that he's going to play. And the conversation was with McCae coming off a pretty nasty concussions last year, and I never think he ever really truly got right from that injury he had his senior year of high school. He came back and played that, in the playoffs. But I think the conversation was, you're going to watch this kid who's played a ton in the Big Ten and, led Iowa to a bunch of victories. You're going to sit, you're going to watch him, we're going to redshirt you, and then the keys to the kingdom are going to be yours next year going forward. And I don't, this kid's a competitor. He wants to play right away. Probably saw the landscape in the state, probably sent out some feelers, and who knows what those conversations were like, and then realized, you know what, I want to play right now. And, hey, God bless him, man. He's my kid. I totally understand it. But he doesn't want a red shirt. He doesn't want to sit back and wait. He wants to go now, and that was the decision. But he was by all accounts at Utah State far and away the number 2 in that camp. If you were going to line up your quarterbacks, Petrus is 1, McCae Hillstead was 2, Cooper Legas was 3, and Bryson Barnes was 4.
And now Barnes is 2, and the others are gone. And Legas, he's in the portal. He hasn't landed, but he's not coming back, right?
No. He's not
gone.
Coming back.
Okay.
No. Yeah.
So what makes Hillstead so good in your mind that he would be the best quarterback at BYU right now?
Well, if you added about 2 or 3 inches to his height, he'd probably be able to play wherever he wants.
Right.
He's got great arm strength. The knock is he's not big, and that's you can't coach that. And so, but everything else, he's got great arm strength, great mobility, and he's a gunslinger. And I think that's what BYU needs to a certain extent, is you got a guy who's extremely smart, can make big plays. And, yeah, there's going to be guys out there that are going to say, the late interception against James Madison where, he threw across his body near the goal line and pretty much ended the game on the interception. The dude was a true freshman. And he's out there making plays, and they're not even remotely in that game if it's not for him. And until he got that concussion on the road against UConn, he was playing really well. And I'm seeing people on Twitter saying he got benched. No, he got hurt. He was never benched.
He got rocked.
Cooper Legas, Cooper Legas was the one that got benched. It was McCae Hillstead who came in, and that was McCae's job. He was going to have that job and hold on to that job for the rest of his career at Utah State if he does not get hurt. And I was just, for his moxie, that what he showed as a true freshman being thrown to the wolves with an offensive line that was put together with duct tape and baling twine last year, I was more than impressed with what I saw from him, and I think he will translate nicely. Now, look, the height issue is going to be a problem for him. The size is always going to be a problem for him. But if BYU can keep that offensive line where it needs to be and keep that kid upright, I think he's got a chance to be really good.
In the Big 12?
In the Big 12, yep, 100%.
Well, because
last time I checked, that's where BYU's
Well, I know, but it's big. Those guys are big, and they're fast, and he's 5'10", and do you really think he's going to stay healthy?
Well, I mean, that comes down to your offensive line, and that comes down to your ability to run the ball and your ability to keep that pressure off of him. If BYU can do that, now that's a big if, then yeah, but that's going to be the case with any quarterback, honestly. If BYU can't keep their guy upright, then you'll see lots of quarterbacks being blown through because they can't keep them healthy. So, yeah, I would not use them a lot in design running plays, and I know A-Rod wants to a certain extent, but I would try to keep him out of that as much as I can. But just as a pure passer, I think he's really good.
Did you see if his height limited him in his ability to do anything during the games that he played last year?
No, I did not. And again, keep it in mind, I'm not Hans. I'm not a X's and O's guru, but I didn't see anything. And I've got Kevin White, who played the position next to me in the booth. You got the guy
sitting next to you.
Yeah, and we talked about that a lot. And I didn't see anything. He didn't see anything that led you to believe that they were limited in their play calling ability based on the 5'10". Because, I'm sure BYU will list him at 5'11" or maybe 6. But, I've stood next to the guy, and I'm a hair under 6, and I'm taller than he is. He's not tall, but I don't think he has to be tall. There's a lot of short quarterbacks that can make it work, even in Power 5 football.
Oh, Kyler Murray and Baker Mayfield did it in Power, and then they're in the NFL. And DJ, that's the only time Scotty can use the word hair and be accurate.
Hello.
Seemed unnecessary, but on brand.
Look, I knew there were going to be some shots taken on this show today, so I'm prepared.
Not a shot. I think you're a sexy, bold guy, man. Especially now that you're all slim and all that stuff. What are you down to, like 140? Oh, and I wanted to ask you, when you sent me that picture of you on the scale with just the weight, like 194, because we had talked about it in Vegas, where we spent some time together at the conference tournament. And so then you sent me the scale that showed 194, and you had never been there. And I showed it to my wife, and we both responded. It dawned on me, when you sent me that text of you standing on the scale, and all I could see was the numbers on the scale, were you nude?
No.
Cool. That makes me feel better.
There's one thing that you and I have in common. It's toenails that aren't particularly pleasing. And so I saved you. I saved you looking at some gnarly toenails. So I thought you would appreciate that.
Now I appreciate it more now, knowing the full story. Are you done? Are you still trying to drop some more, or what?
If we, I'd like to drop another 10 or so. But
really?
If we plateau where we're at right now, I'd be pretty happy about it. Yeah.
Wow. You'd like to get down to like 180?
Yeah, if I get 185, 180.
What, are you going back to the fourth grade now?
Actually, probably first grade with me, but yeah.
Idaho potato humor coming up.
Hey, look, that's a little bit of PK. I know you've never broken the deuce before, but when you slide under that too, man, it's a pretty good feeling.
Absolutely, yes. I was so thoroughly impressed. That's what I'm saying. You look awesome. So why more? I mean, just at this point, maintain is what I'm getting at, because it's incredible that you got to this point, and it should be celebrated. Yeah,
well, it's been an interesting journey, to say the least. There's no doubt about that.
Well, you're there now. Keep it going.
Yeah, for sure.
Utah State radio play-by-play announcer has joined us here on the show today, and we appreciate Utah State radio play-by-play announcer putting another shift. That's a little hockey reference there. You seem way, way into the hockey.
Oh, I'm beyond fired up about the hockey. I think
Is there any
cool
specific reason PK would like to know?
No, I just think it's just great for the state. It's great for us. It's great for the sports world. I think there's so many great things that come along with it. And the fact that you've got a massive renovation coming to downtown, where you're going to have probably near $1 billion put into a building and the infrastructure. And I know you guys have been there a bunch, but just the lands, like Indianapolis, like nobody ever says, I want to go to Indianapolis. Like nobody's thinking, oh, that'd be great. I need that on my bucket list. But their downtown with their sports scene, I mean, I'm at a hotel right next to a AAA stadium. I can walk through probably 4 blocks to get to an arena that's got tons of restaurants, tons of, bars and tons of everything you could possibly want. Or there's an inside kind of convention center that you can walk through so you never have to take a step outside that will cover the whole 4 blocks. I mean, you can tell it's a city that said, we understand we're not a mecca for tourism, so let's go all in on sports. And they have, and it's worked out for them. They have multiple Super Bowls. They have the Combine. The NCAA's there. They have tons of NCAA tournament games there all the time. And they've really leaned into it, and it's worked out for them. And I would love to see Salt Lake kind of replicate that model. And I think that's the vision that Ryan Smith has. And I think Utah fans can pile in and get in on that too. And the fact you added another sports franchise and a chance to have baseball coming down the pipeline here in 2 or 3 years, I mean, we're looking at a really, really cool era in sports in Utah. And it's a fun part to be a small part of it, just hanging out and slubbing it on the radio every day talking about it.
Yeah, agreed.
I can totally back up on Indianapolis, and they've invested way more. When I was at the AAA ballpark, wasn't there, and it was the old stadium, not the new dome. But nonetheless, they had the old stadium was close to Market Square Arena because they have the new basketball facility now too. But the Indiana Hoosiers were hosting a college basketball tournament. I was there for that on Saturday. The Colts played the Buccaneers on Sunday, and then there was more basketball on Monday. And the number of people walking downtown, they had this huge plaza area, and they had Market Square Arena is next to Market Square, right? So you had that huge indoor area, and there were people everywhere, and the energy was just great. And you're right, growing up in the West, I just didn't even think about Indiana. And then all of a sudden you're there one weekend, and everybody's having fun, and there's one game after another game, and why else would you be in that flat part of the country?
Yeah.
Flat, foggy December, and nonetheless, there were tens of thousands of people rolling around, having a good time.
Yeah, and the vibe was just incredible. And I think that can be replicated in a high way, in a big, big way here in Utah. And I think that, there's not a lot of things that bring Democrats and I know we got like 2 Democrats for every 1,000 Republicans here in the state of Utah, but I think that there is everybody was on board because everybody saw the vision and realized, okay, you know what, downtown needs a little bit of help. I mean, if the church comes along and turns that Park Place right next to our building into more, essentially extend City Creek all the way down to the arena, there's no reason why we can't have just an incredible atmosphere downtown, really revitalize what we've got going on and change the landscape. I mean, we're looking at in the span of, when the Olympics show up in 10 years in 2034, we'll have an NHL team, an NBA team, 2 Power 5, Big 12 teams, the Olympics, and a Major League Baseball team potentially. I mean, how cool is that over the next 10 years that we could see the landscape change that dramatically here in the state of Utah?
Scotty, we have to go to break, and you once produced this show, and as a program director, you tried to rein us in, so you know how we are. So,
you know what? As a program director, somebody asked me back at when we had old bosses that didn't know what they were doing and were a pain in the butt all the time and tried to micromanage like crazy. They're like, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this. I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm on it for sure. I got it. I'll talk to those guys. And in reality, all I did with you two is just make sure the mics work and get the hell out of the way. That's pretty much all you got to do.
Was that cathartic? Did you enjoy saying all that stuff on the air? You feel better now?
One of these days, I'm gonna. We're all gonna get together. We'll record a podcast on all the dirty secrets of sports radio in Utah over the last 25 years. But DJ, I'll always acquiesce to you because you always have seniority on the show.
Oh, I see what you did there. And PK appreciated it. And I can't go to Mexico in February anyway. Everybody knows that, so just get on with it. All right. Thank you, Scotty. We appreciate it.
You got it.